Yes, I'm sure.
Stats. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. That was perfectly timed for when we went live. That's awesome. We're back. It's been a couple weeks. We ended last time on our rock, paper, scissors problem.
Yeah.
And I think right now we're going to do a couple of switches. We're going to do a new problem. But before that, we're going to switch languages. We're going to go to Ruby.
Yeah. No more JavaScript, at least for this stream of things. Ruby's
Yeah.
fun. I like Ruby, but it's been like a year since I've used Ruby. How long has it been since you used Ruby, Adam?
I do have a side project in Ruby, so I look at it every once in a while. So I kind of keep up with it, but I'm definitely not a Ruby-ish person. Um, it doesn't seem to stick in my brain as much of the other languages do. So I'm always happy to code in it, and I've like seen the beautiful Ruby that comes out, but I never seem to be able to get there like on the first try. It takes a lot of refactoring for me to kind of figure out the Ruby way of doing things. So yeah. So I touch it consistently, but I don't do anything complicated enough to, I think, really deep dive into them.
I think the only real Ruby I've actually shipped to production was I use it as IOC, infrastructure as code.
Hmm.
So I have not used that much
So like
Ruby, but I
Chef?
still love it. Oh no, something much more obscure than that I'm not going to bring up, but I learned quite a bit of Ruby, but I always liked the language. I was just never I was always in a situation where things were already established, and just never really got to use the language on something like super meaty. So this will be fun, just playing around with it with somebody who uses it a bit more than me. Because I
Yeah,
really like this language.
don't expect much from me, but we will definitely try. With that, I think typically as we do with me and Cody and a bunch of us at Industrial Logic, when we're switching languages or trying to get into a new space, we want to learn and brush off some rust, and so we do a code kata. So I think our plan for the day is good old FizzBuzz. We're going to do a little bit of FizzBuzz and then probably start working on our next problem to solve and doing some discovery tree work and seeing if we can make a little bit of progress on that today. Right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Um, Something I didn't used to do, and actually, I want to tell just a tiny little story real quick. So I have a background primarily in like Java. That's a language I probably put the most stuff into production or just used. At one time, I switched because I got this really interesting opportunity to work on sort of like a 10-year-old system that had some legacy issues. You know, any code base that is 10 years old has some issues. But I switched languages from Java to C Sharp, which really isn't that crazy. But I just tried jumping right into it. And that was a terrible idea because the first 2 days I was just like, I don't know what's going on. I switched from IntelliJ to Visual Studio. I actually switched to a Windows computer, which I've never really programmed on before. And I didn't know what was going on. And then, yeah, in the back of my brain, bing, 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 my friend Steve Quo brings up the power of the Fizzbuzz kata quite a bit. And I said, you know what? Maybe I should just try learning C sharp by just doing Fizzbuzz and just focus on that. And I spent maybe, like 10, 20 minutes on that. Um, Really not, again, trying to solve the problem as quick as I can, but trying to learn a little bit of the language and also some of the tooling with Visual Studio, some of the automated refactorings. And yeah, within doing that, I immediately jumped back to doing regular work and I was like a billion times more effective. So that experience stuck out to me quite a bit. And ever since then, usually if I'm switching languages or I'm feeling pretty rusty, I usually just crank out Fizzbuzz because it's pretty fun and you get like most of the main language features you kind of need 99% of the time by using Fizzbuzz. So,
Yeah. And you can
yeah.
take FizzBuzz, I think, as complicated as we wanted to. I think it's a really good exploratory tool for design patterns and stuff when you want to get that level of deep. I've implemented strategy pattern, um, which is a big common one that I always do, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Um, it's also funny when you're telling that story is me and you have the opposite experiences. So most of my work and most of my, even like when I came out of college, I was all C sharp. I did C sharp for 5 or 6 years. And then finally, picked up a contracting gig and like, yeah, this is in Java. I'm like, that shouldn't be too hard. I'm like, what the? This is
What the?
different.
All these nice language features that are in C sharp aren't in Java. And I will stand by that. I like Java's ecosystem better, but man, C sharp's got way better fun things actually built into the language.
Yeah.
But anyways,
All right. So let's jump into RubyMine because we're sticking with JetBrains as ToolSwift, but we're going from WebStorm to RubyMine and switch over. And we have our beginning test of it is applesauce. Just giving us a basic, you know, basic level. Are we connected? Are we running? Looks like we are. So this actually is a valid test. So we just want to return, or we'll start this. Returns one
it's
for
close
one.
to the valid test. Yeah. Return string one for one.
And so if I
Yep, that should
save
fail.
and rerun, also the fun thing with Ruby is okay with strings also being, or I think also
Single
being
quoted.
single quotes or double quoted. So whichever one you prefer. Um,
Don't care. And I think for at least this, I'm fine without consistency. That to me, that is definitely a formatter's job. Been on teams before where I've, unfortunately had to do like pull requests and whatnot, and had people be like, "Oh, you used single quotes here instead of double quotes," and I'm like, "That shouldn't be up to me. Let the formatter do it." You can do whatever. I don't really care.
yeah, it is worth noting. So we've brought in RSpec. So typically with Ruby, we have two testing frameworks. It's Minitest or RSpec. Um, RSpec is more related and known for like BDD style tests. I think it's a thicker, heavier framework, so it does give you a little bit more tools in my experience than Minitest. I think I like Minitest better from a speed run perspective. Like if you need to speed up your tests, Minitest is probably better. But
Hmm.
I enjoy RSpec more so that I think it has the syntax that we're mostly used to coming from Jest or even Mocha, right? This reminds me of two equals Mocha and what we did in TypeScript. Um, Whereas
Yeah.
Minitest feels very Java, right? They don't go with expect, they go with assert. And it's a little bit of a different syntax.
Is it
Um,
XUnit based, similar to JUnit?
Probably, again, they use the assert word, and I always think of JUnit with assert. So I don't
Okay,
know.
gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, and you can always bring in fluid assertions into any language you want. Um, but anyways, yeah, I like respect.
so
That's all.
failing test, you want to make it pass?
Boom, 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 boom. Uh, one.
Oh,
All right. I had
so
that
just for those,
little. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, just for, I want to, since we are switching languages, Ruby, maybe not many people know Ruby. Just a couple of gaps that you're seeing here. The last line of Ruby lines is the return line. And so actually, if you added the return hard-coded string of one is the same thing. You don't actually need it. And I believe the IDE asks you the IDE is helping it's redundant. And so there's a
Yep.
little Ruby gotcha that I think it's a good reminder if people are coming and watching and trying to pick up on some, like, why is that one? Because there's no return statement that they're typically used to in most languages.
Because Ruby's a good language. That's why. Uh, I
We're
actually
not
really
biased
like
at all.
I really like the last lines of return statement. I think that threw me for a loop for a bit, but it's kind of elegant once you get used to it, especially with implementing interfaces. I actually find it very, I don't know, it's just kind of nice.
I'll tell you the
Um,
one thing that it screwed me up with is Swift because Swift will do return statements that are one line. So if you write a Swift method that is one line long, it'll do the automatic return like Ruby is doing. But if it's more than one line, you have to add the return, and that's just screwy. I know that's wrong. It's like it has
that's
to be
too
one
many
way or the
rules.
other. Yeah,
Yeah. You just either you last line returns or you have to write return. Don't as soon as you write the word and, you've already messed up. It's too much work for the programmer to have to remember.
yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna do return two for two and two, and bam, failure.
So I am going to go ahead and implement this correctly.
Yep, but apparently it wasn't correct because I didn't change the input on the test to two.
Nice.
Sorry, I was like, all right, I got the three twos. Apparently, there's four numbers I had to change. All right.
All right, and we've actually been really bad. We haven't committed.
Yeah. You can come in now. Sorry.
No, that's all right. We both did it. So now the interesting part. Return. Oh, I
Yep.
need to change my live code. It should. Return.
So again, FizzBuzz, every number should just be the string number, except if it's divisible by three, it should be fizz, and if it's divisible by five, it should be buzz. And if it's divisible by three and divisible by five, it should be fizz buzz. Those are the rules. Very sacred rules.
This is the way.
The very sacred rules. All right, getting
Oh,
here. If input uh equal three. Is that how you write this? I don't remember. Return.
that is the non-Ruby way to write it, but yeah.
That is
But
the
we'll start
non-Ruby
with that.
way to write it. All right, well that doesn't even work.
We can refactor. We want to
No, no, it
return
doesn't
fizz,
even
not
doesn't
three.
even
We want to return. You need to do a do block, so you do need do. I don't think you can do return
yes.
fizz.
There's my
Yeah,
braces. Do that's what it was. That's what it was. And I was
yeah.
also returning the wrong thing. Whoa, it somehow doesn't
You
want
need
to
a
test.
parameter to three. You got rid of three. Dot equal three.
Oh.
So the interesting thing here too with oh,
So is it this?
it might need that. Why do we?
Do I need equal? I probably don't. I probably just need double equal, right?
Yeah, you need double equals. I wonder if you need braces around the if or parens around the if.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
this is why we need to write it the Ruby way.
Okay, let's write it the Ruby way.
All right, so it should say return fizz if input dot equals three. And so that's again another Rubyism. You can actually end a line with if, and they also have unless. Um, and you don't need the
Oh,
parens in that case. You can actually get rid of the parens. So the
oh, I
other nice thing
can.
about Ruby, you can do space three. Yeah. So when a method has one
Oh.
parameter, you can actually just hit space and get rid of the parentheses and pass in the parameter, which is
This
why,
is
like you see on
exactly
the
the way
left.
I. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say this is exactly the way I remember writing if statements or like writing this sort of if statement. I just forgot the way you did it. So thank you.
You can certainly do it the other way, and when they're more than one line, that's where you have to revert to usually.
Oh.
Um,
And fizz 4 3. All right. Next test. This time I won't forget. Okay.
yes,
There we go.
I think we want to say mod three
Yep.
equals zero. And I know I'm jumping a little bit of a gun. I could do the and statement if we really wanted to be simpler, but
We know it. I think in this case, like even just doing this has helped me remember how to write if statements. So
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the if block normally now because it
It
did
looks
wear
like it's
me
just
that.
if end.
Yeah.
Actually,
We'll
yeah,
want
I
to
mean, we're
experiment
using
with that
FizzBuzz
probably.
to experiment. Why don't we on line two? So the test passed. So why don't right above that, why don't you do if input equals three or input equals six? Return. So you don't need the do block.
It was just the end that I think was missing. Oh, I closed our file on accident. I tried to just run the test. There we go. We didn't need the do word.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the do block
We need.
do words for like iterating over like a list, like a map function or whatever.
Yep. All right. That
Cool.
was good to learn.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's good old commit.
So Check for modulus 3. All right, we want to do the next one of Buzz.
Yeah, let's do it.
Buzz 4, 5. And now you know where the word fizz buzz goes. All right, failing test.
Okay. Now I actually am going to just to practice that block. So if, and here we're going to say, so I'm going to write it that way.
And I think the ID will help you out too. So
Yeah,
we're
I just
to,
hit the wrong option.
no, you're good.
Buzz 4 5. No, you're totally right. If I do that again for those watch, don't hit page down. Um, oh, it's if E, and it makes it if else block.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is I think if you option enter on your if statement there, Ruby mine will say you can be convert to if to that one. There you go.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna commit that. You're cool with that.
Of course.
Um, convert to fancy if. Okay. What is Oh yeah, you can kind of go back and forth. That's kind of fun. All right, sorry. Just having fun with the tools.
And can
Okay.
you add a space in between those tests, please?
Yeah, that's a great idea. All right, and now we're failing for 10.
Wheat.
All right.
And now we want fizz buzz for 15.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we got Buzz. Okay, sorry, that's my turn. Return. See, now I'm going to use the fancy one. Return fizz buzz if input equals 15.
Very nice.
Yay. All right. All right,
Already get the
finish it
easy
off.
one.
Yeah. This is the pattern that happens when you ping pong. Fizz buzz.
Equal to 0. And man, I messed up all my spaces there. I'm gonna blame my new
You
keyboard.
also have an and. You're doing a bit operation on 3, I think.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know what that does in Ruby. Yay.
Sweet. So I would like to, we did knock this out a little bit fast, but maybe do a little bit of refactoring to experiment with some extracting methods or variables or messing with
Yes.
things just to give us a little bit again of some warm up. Now that we have the problem solved and we have the test suite, I think it's fairly good to play around a little bit for a few
Agreed.
minutes.
One thing we can do on 3 is just combined. You can just say input mod 15 equals 0 and just delete the switch.
Okay. I actually don't. Uh, that is a
We
different
don't have
solution.
to
And
do
that's,
that.
yeah.
Uh,
To me, it shows, it helps to do it the other way, shows the duplication between these two and what's up here.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's duplication on those 3 lines already, either way, because we're saying, mod 5 equals 0 is very primitive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
What else you want?
Yeah, I think we could extract a method that's like um is divisible by, and it takes in two parameters, input and
Yeah, yeah,
true class,
messing up
false
today.
class. I love that name.
Yeah,
Is
you had to tell me.
divisible.
Yeah, you had to tell me how
Dib
to write the visible, man. We both can't spell.
divisible. That is very true. There we go. That's pretty nice.
And then
I need inline.
inline, inline,
There you go.
run test.
Okay, you can just use that in all three places. Is it overkill? Yeah, a little bit. But we are playing with yeah, extracting methods. Okay, so that works pretty easy. And that's how I
So the other
expect it
thing
to work.
too is, um, this would be my preferred approach, but I don't think without, because you can actually add types now to Ruby, and I'm trying to remember that, but you could actually type it out. It's kind of added things that's similar to TypeScript, and you could actually override this
Can we
similar to what JavaScript does.
so Ruby
But I don't know
are
if it's
objects
worth.
prototypical? Like can I add methods to like
Yeah,
so like
right. Because you can actually,
is number or integer or whatever that is? Yeah, I can okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
yeah, you can actually go in and look at methods. They are prototypical.
Oh,
Actually, I think it
I
might be
would like that.
object top methods.
2 minutes maybe.
I
Add
think.
method to
And then, of course, a nice puts is the log statement. There you go. So look, here you go. We look. So new any instance
yeah, there we go.
superclass, so you can see what methods are on there. This would remind me very C sharpy, right? Is when I did FizzBuzz in C sharp, is I would write an extension method on the integer class because it was
Mhm.
easier to extend, and or I knew at least I remembered the syntax on how to do it.
So apparently you can just literally say class integer define
So let's try it. You wanted to say class integer?
class integer and then yeah, and then move our method over. So you just literally just snag it and just move it over.
Yeah, because I think I think I remember this because it just adds
And then
everything. Is that
then
it?
you can get rid of input. Instead it would just be self. And
You
it
want to
just
try it?
figures it out. Yeah.
Just run the test and start there. Hey, look at that. That
That's
worked.
pretty cool. Let's use that. That's really cool. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of languages where you can do this. Um,
and it's. I would say this is even easier than like the C sharp way to do it.
yeah, where you have that like class extension and all this other fancy work. I mean, the only thing that we
Yep.
were kind of like, is it integer? Is it and can you just put integer two on line one just to see it fail? Like change the class name. Is that class name just magical on line one? Are the tests are just failing now? Like what's going on?
There you go.
Okay, so yes,
Undefined method.
integer is this fancy magical class, and
I don't know if
so
it's
basically,
fancy magical other than it gets compiled and looked at. And I mean, this knows it's an integer type, and so I think it looks it up. And again, I can't remember. It would be maybe it is worth the couple of minutes to see how to bring in our Ruby types because I believe
yeah. Well, that's what I just wanted Stack Overflow, and that's what they said to like add something to integer. You just do what you add class integer. So I think it is a, but I'd be wrong. I don't know. I've done yeah. Anyways, that's really cool. I actually really like that. because I agree. I think number should be the one that knows this method, not fizz buzz,
Yeah,
and that feels a lot better.
it does. And it also puts you too, like you could theoretically um, even just get out FizzBuzz and delegate the whole thing to it,
You
which is
could, yeah, and I'm sure, and I've seen like extension methods are one of these things that you can definitely like abuse the world with. I've seen people like, oh, I don't have a god class, but they have like the same class being extended in 55 places. I'm like, that's a
yeah,
god class still. You're not splitting up responsibilities. You've just split up file definitions,
yeah. That
which is
was
better, I guess, better than one file, but it's still a god class. Well, cool. I like that. There's one more factor I'd like to do after this too, and then I'm good to move on.
well. I've been typing for the last couple of factors, so go ahead and steer
Yeah.
away.
So what I wanted to look at right now is all of our tests have quite a bit of duplication. I know RSpec has a way of declaring specific things. So like FB new is something we could do in all of them. Do you know how to do like not a before each, but just like raise something to a global scope and define it once?
Just move it up.
Just move it up. That's all I got to do.
Yep.
Okay, I don't feel like doing that anymore. Search and replace FB equals fizzbuzz dot new with empty line. Okay, that did not do the backspace, but you know what? It added some of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's and then one more thing. Move fizzbuzz.
I want to do one more experiment too, if you think we have got the time.
Yeah, so the one thing I'd like
Mostly.
to or go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go.
I was going to say I think a parameterized test would be kind of cool to see how that works. But mind if we do that quick?
Param- yeah, let's experiment with the parameterized test.
So like these three are this, or sorry, these two are the same. So like, is it the same way that I would do it in JavaScript, where I would just make a random list and then say dot map?
I believe so.
What is this random thing? The
So
block?
this is your do block. Yeah, so this is your block and this is your variable. So like think about for x in like this is your x, right? So there you go. And then that's your variable name, and then this would be your method body.
Do I have the right do? That's what I don't remember.
I don't think so, but let's try it.
Yeah, I'll just snag one of these. Return. Okay, yeah,
You have to interpolate string interpolation. Yeah,
yeah, we'll figure that out after. To equal,
x dot two s. Yeah.
yeah. Let's just see what that. Oh, look, I didn't even notice about this. Return x for one. Return x for one. Okay, so how do you do string interpolation? Is that
Man, see, this is good. That's why we did it. I want to say it's similar to Java. You do the hashtag, hashtag this, and it has to be double quoted. Here you go.
Yep, that's exactly what. Yeah, yep, you're totally right. Sweet.
So can I
You should be able to
keep
single quote that. Yeah.
and then they
There we
return
go.
one for
Yeah,
one and
one
two
for
for two.
one. Oh, sorry, we're double driving here. Yeah, let's get rid of the test above then. Perfect. Okay, yeah, I that something I like to reach for quite a bit is how do I remove this little bit of test duplication?
So 3 and 6 returns this.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Okay.
You want to do the next one just to give you a little bit
Yeah,
of a
yeah. just to get it.
I know
Yeah,
it's
and actually, I'm
copy
gonna
and
mix it
paste, but
too.
there's a little bit of reword. Yeah.
We're doing map too. I think so. There's probably a four each. Is there like a each? Here we go. Okay, same thing. Um,
Yeah, map is going to return stuff that I don't know if we actually need.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. And I am gonna just do it this way. This way I get more practice. So returns buzz
hmm
for. Oh, and we have to make the test double
Double
stringed.
quotes. And the ID was trying to help you out there is why it highlighted yellow, if you could see that or not.
Oh, I didn't see it. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
For number number to equal to buzz. Yeah, sorry. Turn buzz for 10 and 5. Okay, cool. So it did that.
I do like changing the each to, let's change the maps above to each, because so again, we don't need to return anything. Um,
Yeah, and it's
I
just a
think,
keyword. So I like that.
oh
Okay.
man,
Uh Sweet. All right. You want to do the last one?
go ahead.
Okay. Then I'm gonna just do it by hand for the practice. Again, it's not trying to solve this as fast as we can. It's really just getting practice with this. Take this test. And now it's trying to help me. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and then it auto escapes the other.
Fine with that.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
No.
Whatever. And I bet I could even come here and nope. Whatever. Okay. Bye bye. And look at that. Now that's a lot simpler. And actually, I wouldn't even say this is overkill. I actually think we've made, yeah, sweet. Okay, I learned quite a bit.
All right. You want to do a
Um,
commit?
Commit, and
And
then
I
you
do
had
want
one
to
more
try
thing.
one thing. Yeah, and it's only because it's a Rubyism that I think we will enjoy using in our coming streams,
Or,
and it takes me a while for my brain to get around it.
yeah, let's do it.
And it is the keyword for unless.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Return
so
this
we
unless
know, yeah.
that.
And so I'd like to maybe return input dot. I know this is going to look like probably not what we actually wanted, but 2s unless input is divisible by. Uh, so the one downside of what's happening here and why the IDE can't help me is because we don't have types. And so
Got
I
it.
think doing that is, and again, we could do it is divisible by 3 or 5, or like this might actually break the 5 case. Yeah. So we can say or.
Yeah, it's overkill and not the way you should write it, but we're learning this thing, so I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And so the
And
other
that
thing too
that
that
handles
we
the 15
also
keys. Yeah,
forgot about is this, because again, it's a parameter of 1. So
I like that a lot
let's
better too.
let's lean into. I'm 50-50 on it.
I just thought it was magical. I just didn't know what was going on. Now I do.
Simplify to 3.
No, see what it wants. Nope. That's not how that works. I think because it doesn't know what the method is, it
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
tell
now
you
you have to. Oh, now you have to do this because of the or. So it needs to know where to put the break at.
because the block doesn't end. And I think you have to do the same thing with 5.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's now we're into the
Now we're
situation
learning.
that Swift is in, where
Yeah.
you can return on the first line, but if you got any, anyways,
It's not that you return on the first line. It's the keyword of if it has one parameter, you can drop the parentheses, right? So when you didn't have when I took the parentheses off here, it was trying to interpret all of this as the one parameter to the first is divisible by.
yeah, because the line has to be fully executable. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just one parameter; also the line ends basically there, the
Yeah.
executable line. But cool. Yeah, I would never write it this way, but I think learning
Yes,
unless
I
is
would not.
awesome.
Yeah. I think that's the easiest way to like experiment with it. And yeah, I totally agree. Do not want to uh, finalize with this, but yeah, just looking at and going through and say, hey, what does the unless look like? That's
Yeah.
interesting with that. And then it even actually says it perverts the if here because it wants to get rid of the not, which positive if statements is what we care about.
Yeah, much better.
And the other interesting thing too is unless also works the other way here,
Oh, okay. So you
just
can,
like an if block. Yeah,
that's actually sweet. Yeah. Again, because
unless
it's
is
just
very hard for me.
like, well, it's because it gets into the realm of negatives. So I think what I like about Ruby again is that it gives you a lot of tools, and it's not saying like, oh, just use this one tool all the time. There's some places where I'm sure unless is really elegant, um, for revealing intention. Oh, is divisible
Yeah,
I should be underscores. Oh yeah, let's do that. That's also something we probably need to get better at.
yeah. Probably the one thing I dislike about the entire language is that
Snake case.
I don't think I like snake case.
Yeah. Eh, um, I think I'm 50-50 on that too. I've written a lot of Python and I
To
was
me, it's
like,
always hard to it's harder to type out because the underscore button rather than just doing all capital stuff.
yeah.
Uh,
All right.
cool. Let's fizz buzz.
Yeah, that was good. I know we spent yeah, that's about how long I usually like to spend. And it's usually that end step that's very interesting. We're like, oh, what if I do this weird thing? What if I do this weird thing? Does that work?
Yeah.
I feel a
I mean, we
lot
learned
better
about
now.
if statements. We learned about one line returns. We learned about this syntax versus if blocks. We learned about for eaches and maps. We learned about blocks. We learned about unlesses. We learned about
Yeah.
adding prototype methods or extension methods. If you're coming from a different language, they call them extensions to classes. I feel like that was a lot to learn and or relearn in some cases because at one point I didn't know these things. Um, for a good 40 minutes well spent. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we want to jump into Mural, talk about what
Yeah.
project
Yeah.
we
Let's
did, and
start
maybe
let's
do
start the
some
other problem.
work breakdown. Yeah.
I do have a hard cutoff in 20 minutes, but I think we can get started and get ourselves into the place where I like to be, where we maybe end on a failing test, and then next time we jump in, it'll be easier to come back.
And I'm offline in Mural. There we go. So
You
we chose day 5. So we're 3 days in advance, right? Rock, paper, scissors was day 2. This is day 5. Supply stack.
Yeah.
This is
For
from
no apparent reason.
2022. No apparent reason. So we have the expedition can depart as soon as the final supplies have been unloaded. Supplies are stored in stacks and marked crates, but because they need supplies are buried under many other crates, they need to be rearranged. The ship has a giant cargo crane capable of moving the crates between the stacks to ensure none of the crates get crushed or fall over. The crane operator will arrange them in a series of carefully planned steps, and after the crates are rearranged, the desired crates will be at the top of each stack. The elves don't want to interrupt the crane, but they forgot which crate will end up where, and they want to be able to unload them as soon as possible so they can embark. They do, however, have a drawing of the starting stack of crates and the rearrangement procedure, your puzzle input. So, for example, we get this nice little input of 1, 2, 3, which I'm assuming is our 3 stacks with
Yep.
an
Those
array
are
of
three
one
columns.
character. Yeah. It says move 1 from 2 to 1. Move 3 from 1 to 3, move 2 from 2 to 1, and move 1 from 1 to 2.
Oh, this is
So
cool.
there are 3 stacks of crates. Stack 1 contains 2 crates. Crate Z is on the bottom, crate N is on top. So stack 2 crate has 3, bottom to top, and there are crates MCD. And finally, stack 3 has a single crate of P. The rearrangement procedure is given. In each step, the quantity of crates is moved from one stack to a different stack. In the first step of the rearrangement procedure, one crate is moved from stack 2 to stack 1, resulting in this configuration. So they take this stack and they put it on this one.
Okay, so then it's just kind of interpreting the rules, and that's where it's going. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, they get moved one at a time. Okay, so yeah, and they the way
Well, the
it's being
interesting
worked
thing is
is
that it
yeah.
does say that it has a number. says the number of crates has moved from one stack to a different stack, so this might be configurable.
Oh, move
See, this says
three
move
crates
three.
from one to three, but it's going to move one at a time. I mean, if we're
Uh,
considering this
oh yeah, one at a
like
time.
real world boop. But okay, that's kind of cool. All right. Let's hop back down before we just because it didn't wrap up at least with what is it that we're trying to do. I mean, I
Oh,
assume it's we run they give us some instructions we do it, but
so CMZ would be the return. You basically give the top of each stack from left to right, or in order,
ah,
would be the
interesting.
return.
So our input is okay. Okay.
So our input looks like starting stack states
Whoa.
and instructions.
Yes, and our input actually looks exactly like it looks like in the problem. So it's a string that is that weird syntax.
Do you want to put that in Mural by chance?
Yeah, I'm gonna it's very big.
Well, maybe just copy maybe we just start with the
Yeah, here. I'll copy so like
email.
the this was the input. I'll copy the one that's literally in the I'm gonna just put this over here. Or actually, sorry, I'll do text
Paragraph.
paragraph. That is what we're given.
So looking at that,
It probably got moved around in the spacing a little bit, but it's a lot more simple to know where things are. But even parsing the input's going to be interesting. Okay. Anyways, this will be fun.
yeah.
We don't
Do
need to
we
solve
want to?
everything at once, though.
I know. So typically, with like we did rock paper scissors,
Hmm.
we did bottom up because we had some scoring things, and it probably felt more to me. What's triggering in my brain is that felt more complicated, is to figure out the win and loss and the scores. Moving things from one stack to another stack feels very simple, right? Stack dot push, stack dot pop, like just using things like that. So to me,
Yeah,
actually getting the input first and properly doing that into some kind of manageable thing feels like the complicated problem. And maybe that's where we actually want to start. We want to
mm.
start
I
from
agree.
top
That's
down.
different too. And I think one thing I want to call out real quick is just from things I noticed. Like if we go back here for a second. So I like they do a lot of things that I like where they highlight specific words. So
Mm-hmm.
crates. I just want to get some of this the terminology here. So we have crates. We have um giant
Giant
cargo crane.
cargo crane.
And then there's also I think they call it stack of crates, which I'm just going to call crate stack. Yeah, stacks of crates. So maybe crate stack. Just kind of fleshing out what is maybe the domain here without going too crazy. Just so we
I'd like
have
to
the
see.
same wordage.
Yeah, so you have stack of crates and the rearrangement procedure. So I say rearrangement procedure, so maybe
Ooh.
rearrangements. I don't like procedure, but rearrangement. We can
Yeah,
start
yeah,
with that
yeah.
and we'll come up with a better name. But
I mean, that's a great, yeah. Okay. So, like, no, I mean, we could go crazy with the domain thing. I just want to throw the names there just so we kind of have them. So we can start using those
100%,
words.
one at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that's, yeah. But
So for our discovery tree, we need to be able to separate starting crate stacks versus rearrangement. I'm already going to hate rearrangement because having to spell it. So I'm going to separate these two since there's an and there.
yep, I'm
So
gonna move the other stuff over.
organize, create stacks, and maybe we want to organize rearrangement. So that seems like the first little step of like, let's just take the input and like put them somewhere. And we know we don't need to perfectly organize them or, but just getting some form of input parsing and throw into some kind of, even if it's a simple data model of arrays, right? Then we can wrap them in classes and get rid of primitive
Yeah,
abstraction.
let's start there. Yeah. Take the input and create kind of the model of it. And then we can, yeah, moving the things around is not going to be as bad.
Mhm.
All right, let's try it.
I think that means we want to go back to RubyMine. And what I think we want to do is I have a nice default project here. I think I want to just copy and paste. And we are not default, we are supply stacks.
Supply stacks is the name.
Man, so the word stacks to me is bringing back lots of memories because I think of the good old Stacks deck in Magic the Gathering. I loved that deck. That was awesome.
Stacks.
Yes.
Stacks is very mean. I love it.
Stacks is very awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I like stacks.
It also tells you what kind of Magic player I am if I think it's awesome.
That's I'm the exact same. I played Magic
uh,
last week Sunday, and if we played in person, I think someone would have thrown their deck at me.
all right, so just changing some names here, getting our supply deck. And then with Ruby, every time we do these rename things, it's previewing all of these things. Since Ruby is not like a compiled language, um, it's looking for more text instances and stuff that we don't have. So supply stacks. I think this is gonna. Yeah, I don't want to do anything in here. Exclude. And so this is part of the Ruby-ish problem because we don't care about those. We just want to do everything under the supply stacks project, which is what I'm doing here. It
Yep.
does take a little bit getting used to. So now we have our supply stacks test. We're saying new, 2 equals 2. Let's just run. Very
Cool.
awesome. We can close the rest of the things. I think we
Yeah.
are. Oh, see, I even messed one up. So under FizzBuzz, they renamed it to supply stack
Yeah.
specs. And I bet default did the same thing.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So we have to be careful when we do renames because we do renames a lot. Um,
Yep. I'm sure once we get the base of it set up, it'll stop doing that. It's just because I have the same
yeah.
name right now.
We could also just instead of opening up our entire Ruby project, if we open just this folder, it would be
Hmm.
scoped a
Yeah.
lot better.
We can do that next time. I think it's fine for now.
Yep.
Cool.
Split and move right. Actually, that was the wrong supply steps. Supply and supply. Yeah. And so we did a project creation and did a bunch of renames. So I
So
actually think we could see get check out FizzBuzz, and that might because we don't want any renames in FizzBuzz.
yeah, and you can do the same thing with default, and that should definitely just fix. There you go.
Uh,
It still did the rename, but
yeah, because it was staged already. Yeah. So git checkout FizzBuzz, git checkout default.
so it has
Still
them as
did
new
it.
files now.
Nice, which means I should just be able to delete them.
Yeah, you can just delete them. That's probably the easiest, and it'll already stage those.
Nice. So now we just have 4 new files.
Sweet. It's a lot easier.
So add new supply stack.
Sweet.
All right, where do we want to start? Do we want to start by creating that, getting our data object out of Mural and seeing if we can get a string, hard-coded string fixture data to start
Yeah, I
processing the
think
input?
that's a good idea. Let's start off with jamming that in here. Yep, I like that idea.
Is it just this,
I
or do you
would,
want
and
to
I'd
copy it
recommend
from the web
actually get it from the website because I don't know if Miro's gonna like format anything. So
to
that
this?
is exactly it. Yep. As you can see, we got some nice new lines to protect us from some stuff, but
Oopsie.
the D's at the yeah. There we go.
We're saying that.
Well, actually, the quote is so it is one space over. So it's because the quote is the first line. So I bet if you put the quote at the top and then new line, yeah, there you go. That looks good.
Sweet.
Okay.
And I kind of want to say test input,
Test
just to know
input
that
like
this
that.
is.
Yep.
All right. So first test is it.
It creates creates first crate stack. I guess we'll just start off there.
There.
Okay. So yeah, create our supply stacks. And why don't we call a method called what
Dot
supply?
crates
Yeah, that's a good idea.
or dot stacks.
Yeah, I like stacks better. I think that's good. Yeah. Okay. And then we say to equal.
I think starting with an array and then I guess it'd be something like this.
Yeah. Do we want to do NZ
So
instead backward?
oh yeah, NZ. Sorry, I don't know where I got D from. But to me, this is yeah.
Okay, but stacks one. Can you do like stacks sub? Oh, okay. You're just saying the whole array. Yeah, I'm good with this. Yeah. Let's start off with that. I think that's fair. Again, it doesn't have to be
So
this doesn't have to be the final design. This is just getting us a step forward. So
are we thinking it happens on new?
yeah, we just put in test input. I think it's a good idea. Okay. And then it says, hey, I don't know what this is.
And then it's not wanting to add it.
Do the parentheses. Maybe then I'll add it. Hmm.
Cool. But anyway,
Well, I'm
I
sure
have a
you
failing
can.
test for you all, and I'm gonna do this. I'll let you work take over because this is kind of
Okay. Nice thing that I
to me
like
this is
about.
the
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
as I say, to me this is the point of ping pong is we're in a non-compilable state, but the test looks like what we want.
The thing I like about JetBrains IDs is all of them I should be able to do Command N and it should be able to generate me things. However, it doesn't look like is constructor something you can override? New
I don't think so.
kernel. Oh no, what did I just do? Okay. Constructor?
I think it's new or knit. Yeah, initialize. I think is
Initialize,
the
that's what it is. Yeah.
see that's so that points out too, just to kind of reflect. FizzBuzz does not cover this case.
Yep.
So like maybe
Oh,
that's a
sweet.
refactor test of how do we look at that with FizzBuzz next time.
Pretty sure I do that, right? Undefined method input equals.
Yeah, self.input's looking for a method now called input.
Oh, okay. So how do I make
Can you make like a field?
yeah. Oh, does it have a way of making field?
It does not.
Wait, what if I do
Maybe
this?
if,
What if I do this? Ready? My, oh, sorry. My input was this, and then I go, is there a way to refactor this into a field? Introduce field. There we go.
here we go. That
That
symbol.
literally it.
I think so.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Now it says stacks doesn't exist. Sweet. And this one, it should be able to create this method. Code here. Okay. All
Thank
right. We
you,
got
Ruby
nailed.
line.
Yay. Okay. So in this case, let's just do this first. I probably have to do that, don't I? All right. Definitely a commit point. Also, I'm going to get rid of this.
Yep.
No, no
I
longer
cleaned
being
up the
used.
test for it, so
All right. Add simple. Okay. So I think at this point, just because looking at time, why don't we write the failing test, and then I think I'm gonna have to call it there.
no, yeah, no. I thought that you're right aligned.
So creates second crate stack, so we can just do the same thing, but just check for DCM.
Yeah.
And yes, this is not probably the best test because why would the stack just have? I'm also gonna get rid of this. Why would the stack? It should have all three if we're giving the input like that.
Yeah.
But that's fine. We can figure that out next week.
I mean, you could just say a second stack at that point, right? We're just using test data, but it creates a second stack. It's just fine, right? We're just trying to get out of the hard coded case. So it's not the second
Yeah,
stack from the input, it just creates a second stack.
that's true.
So,
We could just make other input instead of just reusing this one.
yep,
I think it's mostly the string is so gross.
it is. It is very gross. Regex to our rescue, I'm sure.
So is there a way to skip?
X, X.
Oh, it's the same thing. Okay.
Yep, it is the
All right.
same thing. Which is also
Now,
why I like our spec, is it feels very similar to Jest and stuff. Mini test feels different enough that it's enough cognitive load for me to not try to use it.
add failing test. Yeah, just like that. Okay. Technically it's skip,
Awesome.
but yeah. And technically we could have left it failing for us, but this is something that we actually would do in a production system every now and then. Now committing like if I was working on a solo project or something, I might actually leave the failing test. But if we're working with other people, you don't want to break the build. Sometimes leaving a skip test temporarily is a good idea of kind of expressing your intent that hey, I'm going to come back to this next time I jump into this.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
that was a fun little hour. We got some Ruby fun, and we'll catch you all in a couple weeks.
See you, everybody.